Hello, this is Leah Whitehorse from Astrology with the cosmic forecast for August 2014. So Mars has been let out of detention, he's out of Libra and he's now in Scorpio. And this month Mars is going to be playing with the big boys because there's a rash of aspects to the social and to the outer planets. It's like now he's entered Scorpio, he's suddenly been let back into the game. But on occasion, he seems to be quite ticked off that he was shoved out of the game to start with. And we start the month with Mars in a square to Jupiter. And both of these are forming waning sesquiquadrates to Chiron, which is a Thor's hammer pattern. And there's a whole bunch of posturing that goes on with this aspect. Nobody wants to look weak. Mars and Jupiter can be quite self-righteous at times, indignant and wanting to get the first punch in. And the problem is that the weak and the vulnerable could be on the receiving end of this. And we've already been seeing a lot of this going on in the mundane world. Thankfully, it is a bit flash in the pan. This aspect will gradually wane over the following 2 weeks. During that time, on a personal level, it's about figuring out your own strengths and weaknesses and not giving in to what others think you should believe about yourself or what you think they think you should believe about yourself. It's about maybe checking in with somebody who's on your side, a trusted person, a family member, a friend, your partner, someone who genuinely wants the best for you and isn't playing to their own agenda. This is because Chiron is the mentor, so sometimes it's good to get someone else's opinion to make sure that what you're thinking is correct and hasn't been manipulated in some way for the sake of power games. A trine between Saturn and Chiron on the 5th of August does help to stabilize things and reinforces this idea of taking advice from your elders, taking advice from somebody who has already been there and seen that and done that. Mars begins to calm down a little bit on the 7th of August with a trine to Neptune. And if things have been a bit tense, and sometimes Mars and Neptune can indicate bursting into tears, even with a trine aspect. I had the image in my mind, I don't know if you've seen a film called Amelie, but there is this wonderful scene where she just suddenly bursts into water. And this is how I was feeling with the tension that's being created in the skies with this square to Mars, square between Mars and Jupiter. So once it trines Neptune, it begins to calm. And this aspect, at its best, it really brings out the spiritual warrior in everyone. It's being aware of spiritual truths. It's very compassionate. It's extremely protective. It's also about remembering that where your energy flows, where your intention goes. That could be the other way around, but you know what I mean. You have an intention in your mind, and it can manifest outwardly. To pay attention to what you're wishing for, what you're dreaming of, because these are the things that are being acted on. And the trine could also help you to become more aware of what your unconscious motivations are as well. A full moon in Aquarius on the 10th of August is restrained by a square to Saturn, but electrified with a sextile to the ruler of Aquarius, which is Uranus. There's a distinct feeling of wanting to break away from the old and embrace the new. But Saturn is digging his heels in, and it's important to remember that Saturn is the old ruler of Aquarius. So this rather anxious square could help you to recognize that some of the old methods and established ways of doing things aren't all bad. the analogy I had in my mind was the idea of upgrading from Windows XP to Windows 8. And I know nobody likes Windows 8, but the idea is that with Windows 8, you teach yourself something new, you teach yourself the new ways of doing things, and eventually your time is freed up and your energies are freed up because it functions better. But not all of the old has been thrown out. So this new moon, sorry, this full moon even, is rather like a cosmic upgrade. Once you've got the basics in place, that's Saturn, then you can experiment. So make sure that your foundations are strong, because that way you can afford then to try something different. And if things aren't working, if you keep doing the same thing over and over, then you're going to get the same results. So maybe it's allowing yourself to just try something a little bit different, just to see how that works out. Pallas enters Libra on the 11th of August, and I was thinking that she's kind of clearing up the mess that Mars made whilst he was in this sign for far too long. Basically, although Pallas was born a warrior, she is the peacemaker, she's a mediator, and she sees what each side needs and teaches you to compromise for the greater good. So hopefully we can start to see her influence coming in the mundane world as well. Venus dances into Leo on the 12th of August, giving a little bit of light relief. And we've already got Jupiter in this sign, so it does feel quite happy and quite freeing. Now, Venus in Leo is cat-like. She's very intuitive. She's very graceful in this sign as well. And occasionally she can spit fire if you get on her bad side, and that's when her claws come out. But generally, this is a warm transit, and it encourages you to enjoy yourself once in a while. So indulge yourself in a little bit of what you fancy. Mercury enters Virgo on the 15th of August, and this is another change of pace and a switch of energy. Mercury is happy in his own sign here, and if maybe a little neurotic at times as well. Whilst Venus is getting ready to go on stage while she's in Leo, Mercury has her worrying about her dress and her lines and whether she turned the cooker off before she left. So Mercury here is the critic, and that can be good or bad depending on the circumstances. Critical functioning is high for Mercury here, and it gives you the ability to focus on the details and make practical choices based on the facts. Negatively expressed though, Mercury in Virgo can come across as just critical, a nag. So make the best of this time by focusing on the practical things that need to get done, analysing without prejudice, and refining your skills. The Sun enters Virgo on the 23rd of August, so everyone now gets a boost of analytical powers. The Sun here really emphasises focusing on your health so that you can shine brightly. Maybe you could have a look at your diet or your exercise routine, or implement one if you don't have one, or drink more water, or resolve to eat more organic foods. Anything that cleanses from the inside out is beneficial under the Sun in Virgo. And it's also about maybe looking at your routine as well, seeing if you can make space to do things that express your personality, express your identity, and make room for those things that you really enjoy and say something of you. This is a sign of service. Virgo is a very giving sign. So if you look after yourself, then you can also look after others better. Mars perfects a trine to Chiron on the 23rd of August, which does help to heal any of the crosswords that may have happened earlier in the month. But this aspect also reinforces the message of the Sun in Virgo. It's about getting your strength back, perhaps after actual illness, or strengthening those parts of you that have been hurt or wounded or worn out whilst Mars made this very long passage through Libra. Now also on the 23rd, we have a transiting Yod that comes into play, which peaks at the new moon, which is on the 25th of August. And this Yod is created from Mars conjunct Saturn, and both of those are sextile to Mercury, and all of them are quincunx to Uranus. So Uranus is at the apex of this Yod. Now Mercury sextile Saturn puts your thoughts in order and helps you to maintain a really practical approach. So still in this practical Virgo type energy. Now, even if it's slow going, you may be feeling busy and quite alert and ready to tackle any task which you've got to hand. But the challenge is that this energy is wired because of the quincunx to Uranus. Whilst you may be thinking that you're on top of things, there could also be a feeling that you're missing something. Maybe you feel anxious that you haven't done enough. Look to the house where Uranus is transiting, because this will tell you what's being awakened in your life and where you need to implement changes, where you need to have a more open perspective. The transiting Yod is likely to ask you to let go of the reins just a little bit. If you're always doing something the same way, it's the same again. You need to allow yourself to experiment and just try something different. The 25th of August sees a whole raft of aspects happening all at once. So it is a really busy day in the cosmos. And essentially, it does boil down to this new moon in Virgo and also Mars conjunct Saturn. This is all happening at once. Now, at first glance, it reminds me of a teacher that I had at school who was bellowing at us and shouting at us to be quiet. But I remember thinking that this teacher seemed quite upset at the time. And this is the same when I look at the chart. I see that the new moon is opposite to Neptune, and there's a quite painful opposition between Mercury and Chiron as well. So the sense is that what we see on the surface is very different to what's going on underneath, and it's important to remember that. Especially if someone is being hypercritical and very, very picky, perhaps there's something going on underneath. This new moon may have the effect of stopping you in your tracks. Maybe you feel lost. Maybe you just don't know which direction you're going in. You maybe just need a break. Neptune can sometimes work like that, where you just need to rest. The Sun then picks up on these undercurrents with an opposition to Neptune on the 29th of August. Now, with the Sun in practical Virgo, it may feel hard to concentrate on the small stuff, especially if it feels like there's these nebulous issues that are floating around and you can't seem to quite catch hold of them. Maybe you find yourself daydreaming and drifting off into some paradise that you're creating in your mind, this perfect place or this perfect ideal world. The problem is that when you come back down to Earth, this opposition between the Sun and Neptune can give the feeling that you feel disillusioned, you feel let down, you feel like it's not possible, you may feel hopeless. The best way to use this is to take the hint from your daydreams. Everything that you see, everything that's around us was once a dream in someone's mind, from the clothes we wear, that there were a designer's ideas, to the buildings around us, to the businesses that are around, to the books we read, to the video games we play, the computer games we play. I'm showing my age. All of these things were a dream. And so if you can take one small action to bring your dream out of this dream world and into reality, then it begins to dissipate this sense of hopelessness and helplessness. It reminds you that you are the creator of your world. This is the sun. You are the creator. You are the light. And we're co-creators in the universe. So think, is there one small thing that you can do to make a difference? So the deck I chose this month was the Mythic deck, because they were on the table beside me here whilst I was recording, and it felt like they were really calling me. What was interesting is that the card that came out after shuffling was the Judgment card. And in my deck, in my way of working, the Judgment card always comes out to indicate spirit communication. So it could be communication from a guide, it could be from somebody who has passed over that you knew. So one of the things this month may be to be aware of that, and this is perhaps this influence of Neptune towards the end of the month, where we become more aware of these subtle signals, subtle communication. So keep an eye on your dreams and just see if there's anything that you're receiving from spirit. Also, this card is, to me, relates very much to the sign Virgo. We have the bandaged, mummified bodies, and also the caduceus that's in the hand here. This is the symbol of healing, and it's a reminder that the body is a temple for the soul. And this is Virgo's job, is to look after the body so that the soul can express itself. Now, Judgment also is simply about following your calling. Often when I get this card, I get a sense of it's time to step up. It's time now. This is the call. This is the call you were waiting for. It's quite a strong feeling I get from this card, and you can see the actual physical steps behind this angelic character. So you can't necessarily do it all at once. It is just about taking that first step. And I think this ties in with what I was saying again about this Neptune influence towards the end of the month, where you can just simply start to manifest what it is you're wanting to do, what it is you're being called to do. So this month, listen closely to your dreams, your nighttime dreams, your daydreams. Be aware of spirit communication, of messages in the ether. Listen closely, and that way you can follow your calling.